Welcome to the Noon Report. Your midday news and weather headlines start right now.
Good afternoon, I'm Molly Martinez. Thanks so much for joining us. Well, summer is officially upon us and the proof is in the thermometer. Tomorrow temperatures are expected to hit the 90s and chances are you'll be looking for a way to cool off. Maddie Gelseth joins us now with the tried and true way to beat the heat.
Auto here. I'm joined with Kevin Klepfil, who's the Facilities and Programs Director. Kevin, how great is it to be open?
Getting ready to let everybody in.
Okay, and then I know staffing is always an issue. What's the big issue this year?
You know, this year we've done a pretty good job with our staffing. We're always looking for more lifeguards, more swim lesson instructors, but we are fully staffed at this point in time and excited for a great season.
And then, like you said, instructors. What do those guys do?
Swim lesson instructors are teaching kids how to swim, which is very important, especially in a community like ours. We're so close to the river. People spend a lot of time at lakes. I think it's very important for kids to learn how to swim, and anything we can do to provide that service to people is great.
I know I see people already coming in. How fun is this atmosphere right now?
It's great. I love to see the young kids that when they get into the pool, they've been waiting for this, getting out of school. We have a great day to start today, and it looks like the rest of the week could be pretty good also.
And then the hours you were talking about, they close sometimes and everything?
Monday through Thursday, we're open from noon to 4. We close, and then we close for a little break, open again at 4:30 until 8. And then on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, our weekend hours, we're open straight through from 12 to 7.
All right, perfect. All right, Molly, I'm going to send it back to you in the studio and cool off myself. Reporting live at the Elk Center for NBC North Dakota News, I'm Maddie Gelseth.
For more on this warm-up, let's send it over now to meteorologist Henry Blakes.
Hey, thanks. Things are looking pretty good for the moment. For the time being, we are looking at some warm summer-like temperatures. Hey, guys, if we can, let's do a tour of our live Skywatch cameras on that coming up later on.
All right, thanks, Henry. The North Dakota Oil and Gas Division is reporting a major brine leak in Divide County. It happened Sunday at the Anderson 1117 saltwater disposal well. That's about 8 miles west of Crosby. Crosby Water System says about 1,800 barrels spilled. They're blaming it on a valve piping connection leak. This weekend, the South Dakota Central Thrashing Association will be holding its first ever truck pull competition in Braddock. The event is on 16th Avenue on the north side of town. Weigh-ins begin Saturday at noon and the official competition kicks off at 3. There's a $30 fee for those wishing to participate. And the Medora Hills are alive with the sound of the musical. This weekend kicked off the summer season. Curtains were drawn to a packed house. This is the 53rd running year of the musical, and this year's theme is family. Tickets will run you about $40, and the season runs through September 8th. Law enforcement agencies across North Dakota are making an extra effort to crack down on underage drinking. The added enforcement led to 252 citations from April 1st to May 20th. 6 of those citations led to DUI arrests and 1 led to a felony arrest. The added enforcement is part of the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over campaign. There were 5,400 DUI arrests in 2016 and 49 alcohol-related fatalities the same year. Well, statewide election day is 8 days away, but in Cass, Grand Forks, Stark, and Ward counties, early voting starts today. Early voting in those counties will continue through June 8th. Burley and Morton County open up their precincts tomorrow and will have early voting until June 11th. For more information on early voting and polling locations, you can go to vote.nd.gov and click on the June 12th, 2018 tab on the right side of the screen. Trending now in Washington, President Trump has, quote, the absolute right to pardon himself. That's according to the president. His tweet read, in part, it has been stated numerous times by legal scholars, I have the absolute right to pardon myself. Trump's comment comes after one of his attorneys in the Russia investigation, Rudy Giuliani, said Sunday that Trump probably does have the power to pardon himself, but he says he will not. Following a developing story out of Dallas, a pregnant woman was one of the 5 people injured in a shooting at a neighborhood football field Sunday night. Witnesses say a group of men pulled up in a vehicle and opened fire. Bullets struck 3 women and 2 men. Doctors at the hospital performed an emergency C-section on the expectant mother who was shot. According to police, the baby is safe, but the mother is in critical condition. No arrests have been made.
This is the Noon Report.
At least 25 people are dead after a volcano southwest of Guatemala's capital erupts for the second time this year. Officials say that fiery clouds of smoke billowed from the volcano and soot blackened cars and houses in nearby villages. Ash reached about all the way to Guatemala City, which is 30 miles away. Volcano del Fuego is one of the most active volcanoes in Central America. Well, today marks the 29th anniversary of the crackdown on protests in Tiananmen Square. The government has never released a death toll of the incident, but estimates from human rights groups and witnesses those deaths range from several hundred to several thousands. More than 1 million people flooded to central Beijing, keen to vent their anger against corruption, economic mismanagement, and nepotism. For students, on June 4th, 1989, troops backed by tanks crushed the demonstrations, prompting global condemnation. Also in international news, as President Trump prepares to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, officials from both countries are working overtime to prepare for the June 12th nuclear summit in Singapore. NBC's Hans Nichols has more from Singapore.
This is a city that's preparing for this big summit here in just 8 days' time now. They still need to figure out the logistics of just where they're going to have this, and importantly, what it's going to look like. What's the protocol? These are some of the thorny, complicated conversations that need to take place. And then there's, of course, the big strategic discussion on just what is going to be on the agenda. We've heard a little bit over the last 24 hours from Defense Secretary Jim Mattis about what won't be on the table, namely any discussion about removing U.S. troops from South Korea. Mattis is also saying that there will be no talk of lifting sanctions until there's complete and verifiable denuclearization. So you're really seeing a hard line from the U.S. Defense Secretary, also saying that he's not that optimistic, saying there will be a bumpy road moving forward. Now, overnight, there have been two developments. Number one, you saw 3 officials, senior officials in the North Korean government being dismissed. That's according to Yonhap. That's a South Korean news agency. NBC News has not confirmed that. And then also, there's a second invite for Mr. Kim, and that is to Russia, to Moscow, at the behest of President Putin. He's been invited to Moscow, yet another wrinkle, another dynamic in what could be very complicated negotiations. Hans Nichols, NBC News, Singapore.
Still ahead on the noon report, Southwest Airlines tickets are taking a major hit. We'll show you why, but first let's check with Henry. Thanks, Henry. Seniors at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School graduated over the weekend. The ceremony honored 4 seniors who were among the 17 killed in the February school shooting. Some students silently protested gun violence, wearing orange, the color hunters wear to protect themselves. Others donned price tags on their caps, representing how much each student in Florida is worth to Republican Senator Marco Rubio, based on how much money he received from the National Rifle Association. Horrific fatal accident on Southwest Airlines flight in April is taking a toll on sales. A passenger was killed April 17th when a fan blade broke off the engine and shrapnel shattered the window she was sitting next to. She died after being partially sucked out of the plane. The company says it pulls advertising after deadly incidents, and at this rate, which started a nosedive of ticket sales. They are now expecting revenue per mile to drop roughly 3%, after previously saying they expected a decrease of between 1% and 3%. Well, now that summer travel season is well underway, there's a bit more packing you may need to do if you're traveling by car. Packing items that could save a life, even your own. Details from NBC's Chris McClackham.
With roadways filling up fast with vacation travelers, emergency medical officials are hoping they're traveling with far more than just a first aid kit.
Such as ACE bandages and compresses for severe bleeding, eye wash for chemicals in the eye, foreign bodies in the eye.
Plus, having aspirin handy could literally be a lifesaver.
For those times where there might be a heart attack, to prevent further clotting of the artery to the heart.
Dr. Paul Stiegler is medical director for GM's OnStar Emergency Dispatch System.
We have instructions on how to help people through choking, CPR, childbirth, bleeding.
He says OnStar and 911 operators all over the country are getting calls more often these days from those with roadside medical emergencies.
The people that are having breathing problems, the people that are having near unconsciousness or even unconsciousness or passing out.
His biggest piece of advice, if something goes wrong medically while driving, pull over and call for help.
Don't overthink things and think you're fine driving into the hospital.
A drive that could end up harming yourself or others on the highway with you. Chris Clackham, NBC News.
Whether or not you're from North Dakota, Montana, or South Dakota, you've probably heard somebody describe small towns in the region as, quote, the middle of nowhere. But now there's an official site with that name, and it's not too far from here. NBC's Kevin Tibbles shows us.
Glasgow, Montana, population 3,300.
It's serene and surreal at the same time.
It's as far as you can get from the hustle and bustle of big city America. A.J. Etherington runs the local paper in a place the Washington Post recently dubbed the middle of nowhere.
We knew we were in the middle of nowhere before anybody ever told us we were in the middle of nowhere.
Researchers say Glasgow is the furthest town from any metropolitan area with more than 75,000 inhabitants in the lower 48. In Glasgow's case, that would be Billings, a mere 277 miles down the road.
Hello, Sean.
Mayor Becky Erickson says her constituents enjoy their own company.
Doesn't it get a little lonely out here?
We like that. We're used to that. If you get lonely, you can go to the grocery store. You could visit with people there.
Or here to the Busted Knuckle, where on Thirsty Thursdays, folks shoot the breeze over a pint of middle-of-nowhere beer. Glasgow's so embraced its new moniker, they're printing T-shirts for those who've been there and done that.
Back to the pen.
The Billingsley family has been ranching here for 110 years. Total freedom, but not for the faint of heart.
We have to take care of cattle when it's 25, 30 below, and you know, you hear people say, oh man, it was so cold when I walked from my car to my office. I'm like, come to my office and spend several hours out in this.
We're standing in your office right here.
This is my office.
There ain't no cubicles out here.
In a cone or in a cup?
In a cup.
About the only place in town where you will find a line is at Bergie's, serving up a scoop or two of summer.
It's the way of life and the safety, the environment of a small community.
So middle of nowhere isn't really a knock at all.
We embrace it. We'd love to have people come and visit Glasgow, and they can experience it.
It's only a 5-hour drive.
From anywhere.
So you see, the middle of nowhere has been somewhere all along. Kevin Tibbles, NBC News, Glasgow, Montana.
Stay with us. More Noon Report next.